Mike and Tom are registered with Steward Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Common Sense Finance. This is Tom Farrell. I'm Mike Wiginton. And today we're going to talk a little bit about, we won't go too deep into it, I know you get nervous about it, but we'd probably title this one, Renewable Energy Myths and Misconceptions. Boy, that's a lot. And so there's probably no way we'll do that justice. But as you've said before, we follow both traditional sources of energy here, and we follow the renewable energy push as well. Primarily, of course, solar and wind is the kind of the emphasis of the current rage, or would call mania. And so, as it turns out, when you start studying some real research on how that works, that that the recent reductions in the cost of build-outs on renewable energy has to do with the fact that energy, in particular, oil and gas, had been in, until recent months, had been in the toilet.
Right.
In 2016, the oil was down, had crashed into the 20s once again. Natural gas was sub $2. Obviously, that's not the case today. And lo and behold, look at what's happened to solar panels, for example, and how they've increased in cost, and the same with wind. So you've been following that a little bit more closely than normal recently. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, well, like you said, we look at all this stuff to try to find, to keep up with what's going on and trends and things. One of the I ran across an article just in the last few days discussing a lot issues that a lot of companies, utility companies, Southern Company, NextEra, are having with the conversion from traditional means of generating electricity to renewable sources. So that's obviously becoming in vogue, I guess you would say, in the last 10, 20 years for them to start gradually, and it's really amped up in the last 5 years. So they are converting and looking to get more generation capability from those areas. But a lot of the problems they're running into, and according to this article, is many of the components, when I say many, 80% of the components that they're getting for these solar panels, for example, are coming from China. Well, there's large tariffs on solar panels coming from China. And basically, a lot of projects have been halted by the Commerce Department because they found out, hey, we got to do some reverse engineering on this to find out where these really came from, because they're basically saying, hey, these solar panels were ran through Cambodia or Vietnam or somewhere, but they're
really coming from China.
They're really coming from China, so they're trying to avoid the tariffs by running them through those different countries, and it's driving the cost up to complete these projects. It's causing huge delays, years worth of delays to get these projects online and up and running and actually generating electricity and generating a profit for these utility companies.
Well, and that's an interesting contradiction of events there too, because I've had folks that work with the power company. I've asked them about the solar project that they put on top of the industrial plants. And they said, well, look, they've told me, and these people in positions of authority have told me, well, whenever the tax credits are over with that, we'll be done with those projects, all right? And we've seen that happen here, back in the day with trying to pelletize coal fines, and it was tax credits that ran in. As soon as the tax credits were out, most of you guys, if you don't know what tax credits are, Google that up. But that's a direct form of income if you're profitable and with no taxes anyway. And so you've got tax credits or subsidies on tax incentives on one side of the equation, but you've got these tariffs that affect, because that pollutes, that's noise that pollutes a real economic decision. And I wouldn't want to get away from the fact that you cannot generate the electricity, the power you need to run this world on wind and solar. You can't. The technology doesn't exist, and you don't know if the technology will ever exist.
Right.
Okay, perhaps it will, perhaps it won't. But it certainly doesn't exist today, and I don't ever want to, get away from that. And so, but the idea that's been pushed, and it just didn't, like you said, the last 5 years about, well, the cost is coming down, has been based on the research that I see that's fairly direct. I mean, it's not about, I don't, and you don't either, get into this, I believe,
Right.
I feel. You've got to support your positions with hard data, man. That's been that's studied, that can be proved on the ground. This believing and feeling. Well, I mean, I'm all for you making your decisions. Go, to live off of a solar grid, and if it doesn't work out for you, well, I mean, too bad. But to tell you that the masses are going to do that is just crazy. And so, like I said, the research that I see says that the recent years, the reduction in the cost of renewable energy in recent years has everything to do with the cost of energy, oil and natural gas in general. So
Yeah.
we'll see. And what's happened to the cost of solar panels in the last few months, with even without the tariffs, have ballooned up by like 300%.
And we don't have the capacity here in the United States to fill even a meaningful fraction of the demand to generate enough electricity to offset any kind of traditional source of energy. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because with all the big push, and these companies have already invested a massive amount of capital into converting, and a lot of problems are popping up, cost issues. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Well, we're going to see how all this pans out, assuming we live. We're going to see how all this pans out, and the cost of energy in general, whether it's natural gas prices, oil prices, in general, are current concerns and potential investment themes for us. So I think I would say to everybody that whether you got a penny of money invested in it or not, you probably have a light bill, power bill.
You will be affected in one way
And
or
so,
another.
yeah, it's worthy of keeping your eyes on.
Yeah.
Last word on that?
That's it.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Just can't believe